Fantastic.
Yay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Thursday morning in the Hub. Thursday morning for me, Thursday morning for Ola, and Thursday maybe where you are, or maybe it's already Friday. Um, Welcome back to the Hub in 2024. We've got an awesome session to kick off the year, something I think that we all want to know more about, and that is how to earn more money in 2024. So I've got Ola Kowalska joining me this morning, and she is a business coach. She's got loads of experience in ELT, and she now talks to freelancers, freelance teachers, freelance coaches about how they can make more of their business. So, Ola, thanks for joining us.
Yay. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And welcome and hello, everybody, and welcome, everybody.
And so, I mean, before we kind of kick off, how long have you been working as a business coach?
So it's actually going to be my third year anniversary this year. I'm very excited. I'm still going. I this year I had that like this reflection. My husband, I can't remember now. He told me there's this thing that happens. So at the beginning I was very excited when I started. I was really like, oh, this can't be too hard. Now I'm at the stage when I'm like, oh, I'm finding out how much there is still to know about business. So even though I help people, I'm like at this stage when, oh, wow, I could do this. There is still so much I could learn myself. But yeah, I'm still excited, and I'm planning to keep going because I still keep seeing people that need help, and I'm very passionate about helping. I've always like it felt very natural for me to transition from whatever I was doing before, and I was doing lots of different things, to coaching. And yeah, I'm hoping it's helping. And yeah, it's been a fantastic journey. Challenging, but fantastic.
Fantastic. I mean, I think, from what I've seen, a big part of your thing is helping other people find their path and kind of helping them decide their goals and what works best for them. So I think it's great that your personal experience of going through that is feeding on to other people as well.
For sure. Yes, it is yes. And like the fact that I was easily bored in my career in ELT, so I tried different things. I tried teaching different age groups, different people. So I started by but I was 19 when I first had my first lesson with some group of kids back in Poland, my home country. It wasn't really a big deal. You didn't really need to be qualified to teach. So I found a job easily. And then like 2 years went on and I was like, oh, I was ready for more or something else. So I tried with teenagers. Then I did my CELTA at some point, having had already quite a lot of experience. So started with adults. Then I moved to the UK, and that kind of continued. Then I kind of wanted a little bit more stability. So I found a job as a manager in a language school that my Delta helped with that massively. Um, and that now I'm noticing how much it helps because I've got so many different perspectives. And it's like, you know what they say about the jack of all trades. I feel like I am a jack of all trades inside ELT because I literally have seen it all. I'm also a CELTA tutor. So like all kind of angles, but now they've come together and I'm able to help all sorts of people because all sorts of people come to me. There are teachers, there are teacher trainers, there are language school owners. And it's extremely satisfying to, exactly as you say, to see that I'm able to help them find their own path. Because I don't ever want them to rely on me. I want them to develop their own self confidence, self-trust, and to yeah, to do things on their own, to make their own money and be happy. So that's what we all need, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, so what do you think, what holds people back from earning more in ELT?
Right. So I've been thinking about this question because you sent me that, and I've been trying to pinpoint one thing, but I don't think there is one thing. I think it's a combination of different factors. Um, Traditionally, historically, the ELT industry is not an industry where people go for money. It's that's just the basic fact that we need to accept. People go into it for many reasons. Some of them go into it for passion. But to be honest, I know tons of people who kind of went into it by accident. They did. So I know tons of native speakers, especially, who just did a CELTA or a TEFL kind of thing or a TESOL certificate. They did it because they wanted an adventure or something, but they stayed because they liked it. Because it's a very likable type of job. There is the human contact, there is direct impact that we have on people. And let's be honest, language skills are still extremely important and are still very much on demand, and people are still willing to pay for it. But because of many different factors, and let's be honest, the market being a bit saturated, the rates started crippling down, and it's all started looking a little bit, yeah, not a little bit miserable. I also think that nobody ever teaches people who go into that how to actually make their own money, even when it comes to making money through other people. So when working for schools, academies, or even online platforms, right? People just accept what's given. And it's not our fault. I'm part of like thousands of Facebook groups, and the kind of discussions that people have there about rates are sad, but at the same time, they are realities. So they say things like, oh, you can't charge as little as, and like people keep comparing how much you can charge in the field for a certain service. Very often I also see people compare rates in ELT to rates for services like plumbing, or like
Mm.
rates for nail services, or like, to me it's a little bit mind-blowing because it's a completely different thing. People forget that when we are teachers, and I'm talking especially about freelance teachers, it's obvious, I hope it's obvious to everybody, that nobody can really make progress in their language, and I mean our students or our clients, in an hour, right? It's impossible. And we still look at kind of pricing, and we think about money through the perspective and prism of that hour of work, as if that hour meant something. This hour actually doesn't mean much, to be honest. And I know it may sound harsh, but it only means something and matters when it compounds, when it's a set of hours, when it's a period of time that this person spends studying, focusing on improving their skills. So I still like, there's still a lot of mindset issues and a lot of misunderstandings, I feel, that contribute to us not being able to make more. Obviously, there is a certain ceiling, especially when it comes to language schools and online platforms. That I think that online platforms are the worst, because I like people who are trying to charge more when they register to things like italki or Cambly, or however you pronounce that, Preply, I still don't know, but it's okay. It's very hard, because if it's literally a race to the bottom, the less you charge, the more you're likely to find students. Then how else are you going to do that? There are ways to make money, but again, nobody is ever taught how to do it. I've recently heard one of my clients, when they've done one of my courses, not to brag, but I just found it very significant that she said, this should be part of the curriculum now. This is just becoming such a relevant thing of how teachers can be successful at freelancing, that this knowledge on how to actually apply like the simplest principles of business and marketing, so they can charge normal rates, because a rate of 10, 5, whatever euros per hour is just abysmal. It's not something people can survive on. So again, it's complicated, it's complex, it's not our fault. It is something that we can work on, however, and there is definitely mindset to it as well as strategy. That's how I would summarize it.
No, no, I mean, I think you're absolutely right that making it a bigger part of certainly pre-service qualifications and also probably higher level qualifications as well is a
Sure.
good idea so that you can actually start people out on the right foot. And I think even just kind of making people aware of taking a critical look when they go and work for schools as well, like you
Absolutely.
say. We tend to be very accepting of the contracts we're offered or the conditions and things like that. But yeah, it's often worth taking a closer look at things. Um,
Yeah.
so obviously there's a lot of personal benefit for charging people more, but what about the bigger scheme? How does it benefit
Mm.
everyone if we start charging more for our services?
I love this question. And I think that we, it's not something that teachers or people who go into freelance very often consider, that there is actually a benefit to it that is like, it makes an impact, a positive impact on everybody. So a teacher who charges more, obviously, as you say, there is the personal benefit because they just make more. They're able to survive, thrive, like enjoy their job, not burn out. These are the obvious things. Although I feel like a lot of people think, and that's part of the problem, that's part of this inability to charge more, is that if I charge more, people are going to think it's more for my personal gain.
Mhm.
While, to be honest, to me, charging more is self-care. It's literally like if you charge, let's say 10 euros an hour, because I know people who used to or still charge 10 euros an hour in any like average European country, that's not a wage on which you can survive. So what that means is that you have to take on way too many students to make a living, which means you burn out, you're constantly tired, you're probably not doing a great job in your lessons. So it influences everything, but people don't take this into account. They think money is just personal gain. No, it's so much more than that. So there is like a deeper meaning to that personal gain, I would say. Then there is the impact on others. When there are teachers, and I really like to think that when people kind of, let's say, get a bit indoctrinated by me, people often say that when they binge my podcasts, they are like, oh, I've changed, I shifted my perspective. And I feel like that's very often the first step. Okay, I know that I need to charge more. I still don't know how, but I know now the reasons. I'm like, there is no going back, right? And I would love for that change to happen on a global scale. Because when people start doing that, the more of those individuals start thinking that, the more the message spreads. And then others start thinking like this, that it's not selfish, that it's absolutely okay to charge well for a
Mhm.
job done well, right? For a job that actually requires tons of personal attention, tons of expertise, lots of passion as well. Because let's be honest, like, I feel that there are still tons of teachers who compare themselves, maybe not even consciously, but to things like Duolingo. And it blows my mind. Duolingo is not our competition because we don't understand that if people are serious about their language goals, they are not going to pick up sorry, but a stupid app.
Mhm.
Duolingo is great to do on your toilet as an additional resource to do in between classes, or for me, as a passion kind of thing. If I don't want to scroll on Instagram, I'd rather do Duolingo, and that's great, right? But it's not a serious tool to learn how to
Mhm.
speak a foreign language. So comparing and thinking, oh, nobody's going to buy my stuff because there is now the AI and the Duolingo and all that jazz. That's like irrelevant. It's completely not. It's an invalid argument because people who are serious will come.
Mhm.
And the final factor that I wanted to mention and how charging more impacts people is that when people pay more, they commit more. And I see it time and time again in my own business, how when I was undercharging as well, like, let's be honest, I come from the same background. My money mindset was shit, really bad, because I had this struggling teacher mentality.
Mhm.
When it changed, I've started charging more and increase my prices regularly, but also start like thinking about it from a different perspective, I start seeing change in my people. I start seeing that teachers have better results, that they are committed because they don't want to waste that money. So it has such a fantastic impact on everything. And finally, not to even mention that, because we don't often really realize that when good people, and I consider people who go and stay in education, good people, I've never met, sorry, a shitty person who is an educator and a passionate educator. So I always have this filter. If you tell me you're a teacher, you're probably a good person. That's it. If more teachers have more money, then they are going to do good things with that money,
Mhm.
because money only amplifies who we are and our values. So it's the impact, the positive impact is endless.
I think that's such a lovely sentiment that you finished with there. Because I think I know I've had conversations with people before who are freelance and who say, I wish I had more time to get involved in volunteer product
Exactly
projects
that.
in education. And I think, when people have that, when they're using their time wisely and earning enough money within their working hours, it just gives them that time to spread the
Exactly.
love and get involved in the projects that they really want to as well.
You're
Hmm.
buying yourself the time, and unfortunately what I see, it's just the opposite. So people charge little because they think, oh, nobody can afford, as if they were a charity. You cannot be a charity. It's literally, I know it's now a cliche, everybody uses that argument, but there is a reason why you need to put your oxygen on yourself first before helping others. You need to have a stable position before you help others. So for me, for example, in my business, I am now in the phase still of building my business, making it stable so that I can then dedicate some time where I do things for free to that helps people who genuinely cannot afford what I
Hmm.
do in a paid way. Because there are
Hmm.
such people, and I am totally aware. But I make
Hmm.
a decision to build a business. It's not about profit, it's about impact again.
Hmm.
So, and I think every teacher can do that.
And I think that's true as well. Like a lot of people have the mindset that if I don't do it at this price, someone else will, and
Mm.
people will buy it at that lower price. But I think it's also true, like you're saying, there are those people who are willing to pay the higher price because it will make them more motivated, because you're more experienced, because of factors as well. I think,
Absolutely.
for every person that's going for the cheap price, there are those people as well who are willing to
Yes.
invest more in
Yes.
things.
But
Hmm.
there isn't enough experimenting. There is like, I don't know teachers. I don't know a teacher who would say, oh, I'm going to charge more to see what happens. We always think it's going to be easier. We act from a place of desperation and scarcity, because we think everybody thinks through the prism of money. So the only value that our potential clients and students see is in how much we charge per hour. It's a really tricky area to be in, because it's also as if saying that it doesn't matter to those people enough, so they wouldn't pay. But what if it does? What if there are people who, if they see a price that is too low, they will think this is probably bad quality. This is and I've seen that happen.
Hmm.
And until you've probably experienced that, or a student telling you, I think you should charge more. Literally, I had clients who said that, and they said they had chills on their spine, because it was like, how can a client tell me that? Yes, because people are also serious. They are not the same people, and I would say, and it's a very, also, like, we could talk about it for ages, but it's it's not a secret that I encourage my clients and people that I work with, and even in my free kind of stuff, I encourage people to find a target audience, an audience that would pay, an audience that you can help because of a combination of your skills, your expertise, and something that they are willing to pay for. It's like a trifecta of things: skills, passion and expertise, skills and expertise, passion, and what they are willing to pay for. And that's the golden kind of somewhere, like the middle ground, that is probably the best for you. I found mine. People are willing to pay for it. It combines my skills. I'm so passionate about it. And I believe there is something like that for everybody.
Mhm.
Even if you've heard of the concept of ikigai, it's very similar. It is very similar. There are four aspects there, I think, but it's basically somewhere in the middle. People don't realize that when we say people, it's very much of a generalization. Yes, there are people who will always chase free and cheap things, who will always only go on Instagram and watch free content with free language stuff, and they will never be able to pay. But it's our decisions and our intentions that can change who we attract.
Mhm.
So if we keep putting out free and cheap stuff, free loaders and cheap loaders will keep coming. As simple as that.
Mhm. Mhm. It's interesting going back to what you were saying before about kind of finding that golden spot.
Mm.
Because another question that we'd kind of discussed was, do you think that people need to find a niche in order to start charging more?
Yes, but it is very much misunderstood. It's the talk about niching is not my concept. It's a very basic business concept, but it's been very much simplified, and I think there is a lot of misconceptions. So basically, a niche, we already are in a niche. The market that we are in is education. Then very often in case of many people that I work with, especially it's online education, and within that it's for example, language teaching or English language teaching. That's already a niche, right?
Mhm.
That's like quite a small segment of the market. But so it's not really about finding a niche because we're already in that. A language in itself can be called a niche. What we need to find is people with a problem. So that's why I kind of, even in my marketing, in my stuff, I stopped saying niche, because a niche, some people may think, oh, so does a niche thing mean that I need to now focus on exams or on business English or on something? That's not enough. That's not like, you can absolutely, if you're passionate about teaching business stuff or exams, do it. What's more important is the people. So I look at it from a different perspective. We need to identify a group of people with a problem that is related to both their language and their life. The problem usually comes down to four categories. Um, or it's not maybe even a problem, it's a motivation for them to study. Because let's be honest, nobody studies language for the sake of studying the language. People study the language for very specific reasons. I've identified four. They are career reasons, academic reasons, they are social reasons, and there is pleasure. That's it. Okay. Career, jobs, changing jobs, getting a better job, feeling more confident in your job, whatever job that is. We can even identify a special job title. So, for example, one of my clients, she chose a target audience of financial professionals because she used to work in finance, and
Mhm.
now that's she's a teacher. Makes sense, right? Number two is academic purposes. So people might want to study at a uni. They might need an exam for some other things. So, but there is a deeper motivation. They are not just taking an exam again for the sake of taking an exam. They do it for a reason. Three is social reasons. So people like expats in other countries, they have a very clear reason why they're studying. They want to integrate into society. Sometimes there, so like for example, Polish is a very niche language, but there are people who teach Polish because there are, for example, English speakers who marry a Polish person and they actually want to have a better relationship with them. That's a very strong social motivation. And finally, there are people who do it for pleasure. So people who, for example, just want to start reading in English. They want to start, they just want to be more culturally aware. They just like it. But I would say that there is always something a little bit more that there is always a little bit more to that pleasure than what we kind of initially think. And I think a lot of teachers would want for our clients to be as passionate about the language as we are. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, we cannot expect that, because while I am a business coach now, I am obsessed with business. I do not expect my clients to be obsessed with business. I give them the bare minimum of what they need to run successful businesses, to be better at marketing. The same with us. If we want to help people, we need to give them the bare minimum. Maybe they will fall in love with English, maybe, but we cannot expect that because that's too much. That's too much. So I would say it's a really good idea to identify a group of people in one of those four categories because it makes it easier to market, to create better offers for them, and to do stuff that is more relevant to people. Because again, there is this certain belief that people just pick up a language because, well, a language, we know why it's important. No, for different people, it's important for different reasons. If we don't identify it, it's going to be very hard to sell it, basically.
Mhm. Mhm. And so going back to the idea about marketing, what advice would you have for people? How can they make themselves stand out?
Mm. So actually, that's very much related because when you identify your audience, your target people, that the people, and it's also, it's not, again, identifying a niche or a target audience is not for the sake of doing that.
Mhm.
There are implications that are very positive, and the implications are that you automatically stand out. You automatically become a go-to person for that target audience, right? I am now known for helping teachers. So yes, there are tons of business coaches now. It's a very much of a growing field, but I am known for helping people in the language industry. So I found my tribe. Same with others. I think it's, and this is actually a marketing principle because when we cannot stand out by having a colorful brand or a new logo or a good website or a when we learn how to make better videos or when we that literally doesn't matter without identifying in which kind of part of the market we are, so with what kind of people we would like to help. uh, that's kind of going to be very difficult. When we specialize, because that's basically what it is, it's specializing and focusing on a very specific group of people, we kind of, I once heard like a bit of a metaphor. So when we are generalists, we are in an ocean. And in that ocean, there are tons of other fish, tons. So it's very hard. Even if you're a lovely little orange Nemo, there are other Nemos like you, right? Even if
Mhm.
you, even if it's a little bit more special. When you identify your target audience, your niche, you from an ocean jump into a pond literally. And in that pond, there will be other fish, but not as many. So, for example, I do have some competition, like people who do a similar thing in that field as I do, but it's a handful of people. It's
Mhm.
not that many. And that's the same for teachers, for trainers, for whoever, for language schools, even. So that's another story for another day, perhaps. Um, because again, we become known for helping those people with our specific offers. So I would say the elements of standing out are finding your place, or creating your little pond where there is way less competition. So we become known within a certain circle of people who have a very specific motivation or goal to study the language and having very good offers. And an offer is not an hour of a language class. An offer is usually something that is an answer, a direct answer to those specific people's um, goal, language problem, that can be packaged. I always like encourage people to sell their lessons in bigger packages.
Mhm.
Yesterday, I very harshly told my clients, stop selling packages that are less than 10 lessons. Everybody was like, what? And I'm like, it's again going back to the same principle. Nobody can actually make progress in less than 10 lessons. Like
Mhm.
literally, I see it in like 3 month increments. I don't know if you would agree, but like, would you say that like 3 months is the bare minimum for a person to see any sort of progress in language.
Yeah, I think, yeah, when you're talking about kind of general English, um, yeah, you need not only that time to kind of for the input, but also just for the
Yeah.
practice with the
Well,
language.
exactly. Because it's a skill, so you just need that time, and that's also like considering that. Very sorry, I've got my dog here, and it's becoming very uncomfortable. Um, and that's like kind of considering that we usually only teach once a week. Some people occasionally teach twice a week, but let's be honest, if we work with adults, adults are really busy. They very often don't do stuff outside class. I think teachers would want that students do stuff outside class, but they don't, let's be honest. So again, 3 months is that bare minimum. So let's not sell smaller packages because it makes no sense. So offers that are like that are going to help us stand out as well. Because
Mhm.
while in the ocean of people selling things like, oh, so how many hours do you think I should buy from you at that rate that you've given me? And then the teacher says, how as many as you want. No, we should actually know how many it takes to see anything, any change, right?
Mhm.
I usually say it's about 10 or 12, but it could be more.
Mm. Mm. You're you're so full of wonderful tips, Ola. It's like I'm just sitting there
I've
kind of
been doing
nodding
it for
away,
ages
but
now, so
yeah, yeah. I mean, you've just got so much experience and I mean, I know you keep saying a passion for business, but it really does show through in just in the way that you're talking about things. The yeah, the enthusiasm for kind of not just the topic, but sharing that with other people as well. It
I'm
really
very happy to
shines
share.
through.
Absolutely. I'm very happy to share. The frustration that I have is that because there is a part of a frustration because I sing all of that. I say all of those things. Like for example, I don't believe in the fact that I could share too much. And then people, so if I, because that's a worry people have. A lot of teachers who come to work with me, they have this worry, oh, if I share too much, people won't pay me then,
Yeah.
right? It is the furthest from the truth that can ever be. I share everything I know in lots of my free content. People still come to pay me because even if a person knows, like it's the equivalent of having a dictionary at home. They have everything. Does it mean that they can implement it, that they can use it? No, I can tell you the theory of I literally could give you an MBA here. Does it mean that you will be able to apply it? No. So people come for the implementation, for the
Mhm.
application. And that's what people need teachers for as well. They don't need them necessarily. So that's my personal belief as a teacher and as a teacher trainer. I don't think nowadays, and I think it's shifting much more and more now, I don't think teachers' job is input. I think teachers' job is so much more than that. It's
Mhm.
accountability, it's feedback, it's cheerleading, it's a little bit of coaching as well, which is becoming so much more popular now. So many roles. And I think that's what people pay for. If
Mhm.
we think that people pay for the knowledge of language that they have, that's a very tricky area because then we kind of, as if we were saying that there is no difference between a teacher and a dictionary or a textbook or a self-study book for language. And
Mhm.
obviously there is. So that's that mindset bit, but also it's the practicality of it. I think that a lot of I don't know if you've noticed that in your practice, but I notice especially in less experienced teachers, they are afraid that their main role is to give input, more words, more grammar, more of everything. But what we know is actually people need more practice, people
Mhm.
need more space. And very often that's again what they pay for that space because they
Yeah.
could do gap fills outside class like they could do their Duolingo and everything outside class, but yeah, the value of teachers work is elsewhere.
Yep, yep, definitely. Yeah, I think particularly as well what you were saying, we've got dictionaries, we've got the words at our fingertips, but you can go to a dictionary and find one word or like a couple of meanings, but then when you go to a class and the teacher says, "Oh, why don't you say it like this?" That kind of language upgrading, I think, is really, what a lot of teachers are moving towards, kind of this idea of dog me and getting
Yes.
what the students need and then feeding into that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that let's be honest, especially in the language English teaching industry, let's be honest, we barely have absolute beginners. Like the world is surrounded by English. Everything is in English. So to be honest, even the lowest level students, they already usually have enough to do something in the language. But for some reason, the world keeps telling us that we need to give them more, and a lot of teachers still think we need to give them more. No, we need to activate. And that's what I do as well. That's like one of my mottos is, even in the line of the work that I do now, is activation. It's like I always say, hey, I know that you don't understand fully yet how the strategy in business works. I want you to do something first
Mhm.
rather than, because you don't need everything. You don't need to do an MBA. By the way, I've read a book. This was eye-opening, and I think there was a very much of a link between how teachers think and how a lot of business owners think. So you know how the MBA programs, so the biggest business programs, especially at Ivy League universities in the US, they cost thousands of dollars, thousands. Very often, and I read in a book about it, very often people like take massive loans, mortgages, literally, to study MBAs. Do those MBAs then, and nobody ever asked this question before, do those MBAs actually mean that those people are going to be successful at business?
Mm.
And somebody did ask that question, and apparently only 20% do. So it's just like, it just shows that knowledge is not enough. It's about implementation. So yeah, if people come to me and it's like, yeah, what do I do? What content do I post? You don't. You start acting in a messy way. You start doing things that will improve your situation. You don't need to learn more, usually.
Mhm. Mhm. Cool. Well, going back to kind of your own personal branding, as it was, I was looking at your
Mm.
website and I love the names of your courses. So you've got rocket takeoff,
Yes,
rocket fuel, and rocket accelerator.
very proud of that.
They are awesome. Very quickly, kind of what's the difference between those three?
Absolutely. So my rocket programs are something that has developed over time. The first edition of the rocket, that was back then only one program, and funny little story that I think it adds a little bit to the like uniqueness of the brand. So if anybody here listening ever considers naming their products or their packages or their offers something fun, I think it's a good idea, because people now know, people genuinely now come to me and say, hey, I want to be the Rocketer. I want to be in the community. It feels really cool. So there was a one program at the beginning, and it was packed with knowledge, and it was not enough action based. So I've developed a way of breaking it down a little bit more. After what it's been 2 years now, nearly 100 people have done one or the other edition of the rocket. As you've noticed, there are now three. So the rocket takeoff, is a course for freelance teachers who have been freelancing for a while, but who are still either on like a hamster wheel of working too much because they charge a bit too little. They don't have a target audience. They don't really know how marketing works. They don't have a proper offer. They sell lessons by the hour and they're struggling. So this is the most affordable of the options, because I believe that this is the foundation of everything. If you want to do anything else, like for example, start selling passive products or everything else, you need to have the foundation of target audience, building your first offer, and doing marketing in a sustainable way. And that's what the course helps you do in just 3 weeks. I'm really proud of it. It's a really good course. And I'm mainly focusing on spreading the word about that one, because I think that if people do that one, they're already like so much ahead of everybody else. This is it. The rocket fuel is a little bit of an experiment. The first edition literally started this week. It's an accountability based, so it's not really a course. It's an accountability based sprint that lasts a month, and it helps people take action on their marketing every day. So it's something quite fun. I help them create their marketing assets. So a little bit of content, a little bit of stuff. We talk about it at the beginning, and then they implement daily for 28 days. So I'm going to tell you about the results of that a little bit later because it's only the first edition, but I'm quite excited. And people are like, oh my God, this is what I need, hand holding and doing things together, because that's what we're doing. And finally, the Rocket Accelerator, it's my big program. And this is basically what the Rocket at the beginning used to be, but it's now much more action-based. So it's a 6-month coaching program where people build a group program for their students. So they start by learning how to sell things to many people, right? So not one-to-ones, because Rocket Takeoff is mainly focused on one-to-ones. In Rocket Accelerator, we learn how to sell to groups. We then, because it's something, I feel like it's one of the unique selling points. I took a course in instructional design. So I also help people design a really good program, a language program that helps people make progress, that helps people complete it. Because a lot of people buy digital products now, digital courses now, but they never do them. So we want to create something that people actually go through and complete. We learn how to launch it and how to sell it. And that happens over 6 months in like a step-by-step manner. We meet weekly for calls, for Q&As, for coaching, for all sorts of things. So that's like a bigger investment and a bigger thing, but it really is one of the biggest things also I've ever built, and I'm really proud of it. But if anybody is considering, have never heard about me before, a rocket takeoff is a really good start for everybody.
And are these the courses that you run kind of individually, or are they group courses, like you take on
So
groups of
that's a very
cohorts?
good question. So the Rocket Takeoff is currently a self-study course, so anybody can buy and do it at their own pace. However, with anything that anybody ever buy from me, I have a community of 400 people now, which is super fun. It's an exclusive community for clients only, where if somebody is going through one of my self-study courses but has questions or is completely stuck, I'm always there answering questions. So people can always ask me. I also regularly run something like group live rounds. So I will be inviting people for free who already bought the course in the past, so we can do it together. So there is a bit more momentum and action. I love action. So that's what it is. The Rocket Fuel and the Rocket Accelerator are fully live. So we do it together. It's only the Rocket Takeoff that is a bit less, with a bit less support, but the lessons are designed in a way that it just guides people through what needs to be done, really implemented.
I think that's really nice, that idea of creating a community. And I know a lot of people often worry when they join communities like
Yes.
this, that they're kind of in competition with the other people. But going back to what we were saying before, it's all about, making it better for everyone,
Exactly.
and identifying like your target audience. Yes, you might be teaching business English, but your focus on Spain
On a
and
different,
somebody else.
exactly. On
Yeah.
Spain, on women, on the younger people, on older people, on a specific job title, on whatever. So honestly, so I've worked with 490 people so far. And not all of them joined the group, but most of them did. So there is nearly 400 people in my Facebook group who have ever worked with me. I don't think there is even one person who there is never a repeated kind of business specialty. Insane, isn't it? So nobody is really a competition. And actually what happens is that very often my teachers get inquiries from different people, from different niches or target audiences, and then they don't want to teach them. So they share and ask if somebody else wants to take that student on, which is absolutely beautiful. So the
Yeah.
community is fantastic. So yeah,
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, Ola, thank you so much for coming
no
along this
problem.
morning and sharing all your expertise with us. We haven't had any questions come in. Karen was adding when we were chatting about having apps like Duolingo. She said the human touch is so much more important. An app can
Absolutely.
never be as passionate as a teacher.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also, that's something that I forgot to mention in that discussion about the Duolingo and why we're afraid to charge more. Um, I like to, and this is this insider tip. This is something I coached people on yesterday. When you're worried about charging too much or raising your prices, but you feel like you should, change your perspective. It's not about even your years of experience, your expertise, how many courses you took, how many titles you've got. No, leave that here. It's relevant. It's absolutely relevant. Let's be honest. And newly qualified teacher knows less than a highly qualified teacher who has been teaching for 20 years. But there is a different, better perspective. And the perspective is charge for people's results. So focus on what you can offer as a transformation, as a result that people get from working with you. The more urgent that kind of result is, the more valuable that result is, the more they are willing to pay. Because this
Mhm,
is it. Um, so that's what I would say. Yeah.
mhm. You know how there are those people that have like podcasts and webinars and stuff, and then like they go through and take out all these little sound bites. I feel like this session has just been filled with these awesome sound bites, Ola. Like you've given us so many good tips and so
I'm
much
so
good
happy.
advice, like just about mindset and things that we can take away from today's
Feel
chat.
free.
So
Feel free to have those bites and listen to them over and over. I'm happy to. Also, you're very much invited, everybody to listen to my podcast, Get Richer Teacher, weekly Monday um, episodes. Would love to hear from you if you decide to listen. It's a growing community as well. So yeah.
fantastic. Awesome. Well, if anybody does come up with any questions for Ola, pop them in the chat, and then I can and get back to you with them and things. I've shared the link to Ola's webpage, and I'll share a link to the podcast as well. Good luck with the start of 2024, everyone. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another podcast, no, not podcast, another live stream. And thank you very much again, Ola, for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, everybody. And I wish you all to get richer this year, richer in money, experiences, the abundance, everything that you may wish for. Thank you so much for inviting me, Teresa. It's been lovely to chat to you.